G's, no design on my jacket. Work hard and I'm changing my bracket. Talk tough, we ain't hearing that racket. Dots came in, you know how to stack it. Don't take it wrong, but I'ma need my ends though. I got tigers on my chest like Kenzo. Rail came, yeah, he putting that Benz though. Carol's here, man, you know he stay 10 toes. Big dog, man, you know I ain't worried. Bent up, so I'm talking real slurry. Got a blast, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to the Adam Caplan MMA show. I am your host, the voice in your ears, Adam Caplan. And you're probably wondering what happened to AC Radio. Is he gone and lost? Where's he been? I'm back, baby. We went 5 days without any power where I'm from in Canada. But, that doesn't really matter because right now we have the inaugural episode of the Adam Caplan MMA show. AC Radio is no more simply because every time you would search me in on YouTube, we'd get a gentleman from Latin America with a very popular page. And that was pretty much clouding the viewership and the exposure. I wasn't necessarily attached to the name, although I do like it, and I will keep the neon light up for the OG viewers and, of course, the Please Wifey who bought me that for my birthday. So until then, we're going to keep that up there. But the Adam Caplan MMA show is here to stay because MMA is pretty much 90% of what we talk about on the show. We talk a little bit about boxing as well, but this is entirely more or less an MMA show. So why not put my face and my name right on top of that YouTube page and the branding and, of course, the podcast name. So that's what you got, baby. Welcome to the Adam Caplan MMA show, which I'm proud to call it. AC Radio is no more, but RIP to AC Radio. But you know what? For the OGs, like I said before, you'll always remember. So let's get right into it because we got UFC 287 in Miami, Florida, baby. Israel Adesanya shocks the world with a second round knockout, 4 minutes and 21 seconds into the second round against Alex Pereira, the former champion. Holy crap, what a fight. What a finish. I mean, listen, man, Israel Adesanya had an energy and a demeanor to him leading up that entire week that was just a force to be reckoned with. You could tell that it was redemption season. You could tell that it was revenge season. And you could tell that Israel was not fazed at all by losing 3 times already to this guy. He did not see any issue or any obstacle at all because he had one goal in mind, and that was putting Pereira into the ground. And that's exactly what happened. So let's get right into it because in that first round, we spoke about it on the last episode that both guys are going to have to be a little bit more defensive in not letting those free shots get through, especially on the calf kicks. But let's just say that really wasn't the case. I think that Izzy did a good job in checking a few kicks of Alex Pereira, but I thought that both guys were pretty accepting in letting those free shots go in the leg kicks and the calf kicks. I felt that Pereira was losing his balance a little bit too much in the first round on his calf kicks. You could tell that he was really aiming for the peroneal nerve, not really trying to put too much shin into the kicks, but a little bit more of like a flicking motion just to really send a shockwave to the calves and the footwork of Israel Adesanya. But I wasn't a big fan of how he was losing his balance from those calf kicks. And then on the other front of Izzy, loved the way that he was switching stances. He was switching from orthodox to southpaw just because there were so many leg kicks getting through that he wanted to kind of evenly distribute perhaps some of the damage that was coming his way and then also give Pereira more looks to worry about. And, the range was also a factor also because there were moments where they fought in that phone boothy kickboxing range that we saw in the first one. But for the most part, there was a lot more lateral movement, especially from Pereira in the second fight than there was in the first one. I think that Pereira in some moments was a lot more patient in the second fight. But at some moments as well, he was able to close that distance and really stalk Pereira. But what I was really shocked about was the lateral movement from Pereira. Kind of seemed like he was more comfortable with staying on the outside a little bit and wanted Izzy to come forward. And that seemed to be a little bit of difficulty in the second round because Izzy started using his boxing more. And that's what I like to see. Started opening up with his right hands, started finding his range on the feet. And what that was doing was have Pereira use more energy than he necessarily planned on doing. Why? Because Pereira had to exit with his feet in a little bit more of an explosive manner to get out of the way of Izzy's shots. Pereira is more of a kickboxer and a Muay Thai fighter. Doesn't really have maybe necessarily the greatest head movement. He's a very heavy-footed fighter. He's got kind of that Bigfoot Silva demeanor where everything he does is just low and slow, but it's very powerful and it's very calculated when it lands. So when Izzy was utilizing that boxing, Pereira kind of had to jump out and use that explosiveness to get out of the way of Izzy's boxing. And that was starting to tax Pereira a bit. But what did Pereira do? He started coming forward more. He didn't want to continuously be on the back foot from Israel Adesanya's boxing. So you could see now that Pereira started to put the pressure on more in that second round, landing more of those kicks, was able to actually land some of his punches in the middle of Israel Adesanya's boxing sequences as well, which is always a really great way to break the momentum from a fighter. When Pereira was able to land a stiff jab or a stiff hook in the middle of Israel Adesanya's boxing combinations, that's a big momentum stopper and a big A+ on Pereira's counter-boxing game. But, then what started to happen is Israel was actually starting to get hit a little bit. I started to see that Pereira was opening up with more body work, starting to land a little bit more kicks with a little bit more oomph behind it. And then with 4 minutes and about 15 seconds left, Alex Pereira starts landing some shots on Israel Adesanya, which backs him up against the cage. And already fans are thinking to themselves, and the analysts and all of the folks around the world, holy shit, Izzy, get your back up off of that cage. This is the last place where you want to be against Alex Pereira, and you're there right now. You got to use your footwork. You got to use your head movement. You got to use your boxing and get the hell off of that cage. But Izzy stayed there and took some shots from Pereira. He took a body shot. He took a left hook. He took a knee, took another left hook. And holy shit, here we go. Israel Adesanya interrupts it with a straight left hand and then a straight right hand right down the pipe. He rocks Alex Pereira and then lands another big right hand. He knocks out the great giant, the great statue, the great dragon in Alex Pereira. He knocks him out cold. Israel Adesanya then rushes down with a hard tomahawk type ground and pound punch, which completely puts Alex Pereira from Jupiter all the way to Pluto, which he was already out of this universe as it was, and becomes the UFC middleweight champion of the world. Could you believe it? I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Israel Adesanya had his back up against that fence, which is the last place where we wanted to see him. Then he was getting rained down with knees, punches, that big left hook, and then the next thing you know, Israel Adesanya stops that momentum cold. The last style bender, Israel Adesanya with a thumping right hand. He knocks down the great dragon in Alex Pereira, and then he puts down another right hand to knock him out cold, and then to put all of the negative feelings and all of those losses behind him, he rains down a beautiful tomahawk ground and pound punch, similar to like a Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping. Israel Adesanya is now the champion, once again the face of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. What a time to be alive for Israel Adesanya. And then he puts the icing on the cake by going up to the family of Alex Pereira in the crowd and mocking his kids by showing a stiffened body, which mimicked what Alex Pereira's kids did to Israel Adesanya in Brazil. So Izzy gets revenge in more ways than one. He is now the champion of the world once again. Congratulations to him. A stifling right hand in the second round in Miami, Florida. He blows the absolute ceiling off of that place with such a stifling KO. Gets onto the mic, cuts a great promo after. Wasn't my favorite personally. A lot of folks loved it. Wasn't my favorite personally. But when you look at everything that Israel Adesanya has done in his career, the demeanor, the performances, the TKOs, the KOs, the title defenses, the character, playing that anime character in a real life form. Holy shit, did he really complete the final chapter in defeating Alex Pereira and becoming the champion again. So congratulations to Israel Adesanya. What an absolute performance. What a fight. What a great performance from Alex Pereira, who definitely showed in that first round that he was there to stay, who showed in the second round that at any moment he could take over this fight, and it really looked like he was about to, but holy crap, that's your guy, Israel Adesanya. Knocks out Alex Pereira with that same right hand that he almost knocked him out with in the first fight at the end of that first round. And, shout out to OG Shawnee Mack, who actually pointed out that he almost knocked him out he did knock him out in the exact same corner that he almost did in the first one. So we're going to take a sip of that Prime because we're recording a little bit earlier this time. So, we're going to keep it kosher. What a performance from Israel Adesanya. Big stuff from Israel Adesanya, and now we have Jorge Gamebred Masvidal versus Gilbert Durinho Burns. And you know what? What a performance! Because when I played back my preview show, I kind of thought to myself, "Damn, I went a little bit hard in the paint on Jorge. I didn't give him enough credit. I kind of shit on him a little bit." Well, after playing the preview this morning, I have to say I was pretty spot on with the analysis on Gilbert Burns. Fundamentally, he showed that he's better than Jorge Masvidal everywhere. That right hand was landing way too many times in the second and third round. It got a little bit scary. It almost seemed as if we were going to see Jorge Masvidal staring at the ceiling, in the Miami-Dade County Arena, similar to the Kamaru Usman fight. That right hand was finding a place for it. And instead of, Jorge Masvidal getting a little bit crafty with his counter punching, utilizing his kicks to the body, utilizing his footwork and his head movement, he was merely just egging on Gilbert Burns to land more punches. And I thought that was a little bit of a scary sight. I didn't really like to see Masvidal accepting the fact that he maybe perhaps would have wanted to go out on a shield. Gilbert Burns, man, what a performance. Like I said, was a little bit cautious in the first round, felt that he could have put it on Masvidal a little bit more, was a little bit cautious. And I think that also cost him a little bit for bigger performances in the second and third round, because sometimes when you're pulling the reins back on yourself, you actually burn just as much energy in some ways when you go out there and you just fucking put a beating on somebody. So there's a big difference there. I felt that Gilbert Burns was easily able to dictate where the fight should have gone, whether it was on the feet or on the ground. There was a little bit, some discussion of some greasing going on Jorge's part. Gilbert said that he felt like he was a little bit whiter than usual and a lot more slippery in the grappling exchanges, which is why it seemed as if Gilbert changed the game plan to stick with the boxing more so in the third round. And it didn't really matter. It didn't matter if Jorge was greasing, because Gilbert Burns was able to dictate how that fight was going to go, where that fight was going to go. And he showed again how he is such a dominant force and a dominant fighter. I think that Gilbert Burns is a great matchup against the likes of Colby Covington or Leon Edwards. I think that he could perhaps even get the job done. It sucks how he had to do the right thing by fighting Chimaev to really test himself, because it seems as if, now if Gilbert Burns does, perhaps get an opportunity for fighting Leon Edwards or Colby Covington, you're always thinking in the back of your mind, well, Chimaev beat him, so Chimaev could technically be, due to MMA math, the welterweight champion. And we hate when there's a possible equation for MMA math in here, and having Chimaev with a win over Gilbert Burns does present that. But ultimately, Gilbert had a great performance. Congratulations to Gilbert Burns. Beautiful right hands. He's got explosive dynamite in his boxing. He's got great jiu-jitsu. He's got great wrestling. And he was able to show us that he has all of those tools, and he was able to dictate where the fight should have gone at any moment. But man, when that right hand was finding a home, you kind of had to brace yourself for a moment, because you thought that Street Jesus was going to be put on the cross. So, that was a tough one there. And congratulations to Masvidal. I mean, what a career. What a career. I mean, watching him since 2014 or 2013 minimum, Fairfax, Virginia against Al Iaquinta, the famous fight where Iaquinta won by split decision. A lot of folks gave Masvidal that fight. And that would be some of the storylines in Masvidal's career, where we always came up short in a lot of split decisions. But that was the famous fight with Al Iaquinta, where Iaquinta told the fans to F off. You booing me, F off. That was such a joke scene. Go check that out on YouTube. Is one of the reasons why Al Iaquinta was so famous for the sound bites. And then, had a little bit of that up and down career of Masvidal, couple wins, then a big loss. Wasn't able to really get that momentum. And then the next thing you know, in London, England, against Darren Till, he's able to land a similar blitz type of combination that we would see from the likes of Tyron Woodley. And then he rides that momentum into fighting Ben Askren, a matchup where he should have absolutely lost, fighting a wrestler in Ben Askren who doesn't do anything but sniff your crotch. He goes out there and knocks him out in 5 seconds with a flying knee, does the little tap on the ground, like, wake up, do you know where you're at right now? Hits the super necessary line, then goes on to fight Nate Diaz, TKOs him for the BMF title, just has a stifling 2019, completely resurges his career out of nowhere. Jorge Masvidal is not supposed to be in the position he's in right now, with millions of dollars in the bank, at the helm of Gamepred Fight Championship, a great boxing and MMA promotion, and then one of the top grossing selling MMA fighters in UFC history. You know, that Kamaru Usman fight where he took it on a week's notice to go out to Yas Island to fight Kamaru Usman for the title. And he did that famous pit stop in Italy where it sounded like he was going to stop for a slice of cheese pizza, but he was trolling us. You know, that fight sold for about 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 million. Jorge Masvidal, without that 2019 breakout year, is not in any of these positions right now. So congratulations to him. Because only 3-4 years ago was this guy able to turn things around, become one of the faces of the UFC, become one of the highest earning, highest sold fighters that folks want to see and the UFC want to pay for. You see the house that he's living in Miami now? Guy's living it up, man. Got the G-Wagon, got the Beamer, got the old school muscle cars. Congratulations to him, man. Only a couple of years ago, this guy wasn't going to have all of those luxuries. Would have had some of it. But man, after that 2019 and all of he's brought in us, congratulations to him. He deserves it all. So, man, Jorge Masvidal, what a great career. One of the great characters, one of the guys that to us that an MMA fighter doesn't have to have a perfect record. He could go through some peaks and valleys. He could have some ups and downs. He could have weaknesses in the grappling, but still be a popular fighter because they know he's dangerous on the feet. It's not about being the cleanest. It's about that ruggedness. It's about that grittiness. It's about a couple of losses on your record. That's what MMA is all about. And that's why we love the sport, because the best fight the best. So welcome to the Adam Caplan MMA show, the inaugural show, but the momentum, the breakdowns, the recaps, the analysis, the enthusiasm, the passion, everything, remains the same. We're going to be doing things a little bit differently where you're going to get a full episode. And then depending on the main 1 to 2 topics, you're going to get the real meat and potatoes distributed throughout the week in clip forms, new thumbnails, new titles to go along with it. A little bit of a new rebranding. We're also segueing, maybe, we're still a podcast, but we're also going a little bit more the content creation route in terms of delivering perhaps less long clips and then breaking things up to you. So hope you liked it. Welcome to the Adam Caplan MMA show. We're out, baby.
Cheese, no design on my jacket. Work hard, I'm changing my bracket. Talk tough, we ain't hear that racket. Dogs came in, you know how to stack it. Don't take it wrong, but I'ma need my ends though. I got tigers on my chest like Kenzo. Rail came, yeah, he putting that Benz though. Carol's here, man, you know he stay 10 toes. Big dog, man, you know I ain't worried. Bent up, so I'm talking real slow.